Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book from the Legal Action Group, one of a whole series of books they produce. They're handbook books or guides, whatever you'd like to call them. They're excellent for practitioners and advisors. This particular book's a new title which has come out on mental health tribunal matters. It's called the Mental Health Tribunal Handbook. It's been written by three people, experts in their field: Sarah Johnston, Sophy and Dr. Claire Royston. And the Legal Action Group, as many of you know, is the Access to Justice charity, and they do first-class work, and we as professionals could not do without the work that they produce for us by way of materials to assist us with our advocacy and our general advice to clients. Now, my wife and I talked about this book, and we've given it a fairly long title, actually, for our review: A Most Vital Modern Guide to Current Mental Health Legislation and Tribunal Matters. And then we've given it a subhead: Excellent Advice on an Act with Exceptional Reach. And that's what they describe it as in the book. The book itself, I think, is very useful for advisors and certainly for expert witnesses too. I'll talk about the review itself in a minute. Let's just show you the front. There's a picture. That's a picture from the Bethlehem Museum of the Mind. That's actually an interesting piece of art. There's the spine, and then there's the back of the book. Now, what you've got, in keeping with a lot of lag publications, you've got a shaded area at the back, which you can probably see, and then the main content. So if I go to the shaded area first, what you've got in the shaded area is actually the various appendices. It starts off with tribunal procedure rules, and then it runs through from there. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let me go to the back of the book first and show you the index, which is there, a detailed index, very much part of the house style for the Legal Action Group. There's the front of the index there. Then you get to standard form letters, for instance, which are again at the back in the appendices. There's quite a lot of footnoting. You can see there's footnoting. Again, this is in the index. This is in the actual appendices at the back. These are selected papers, checklists. So you've got a lot of very practical information. If we get into the book itself, it's got paragraph numbering, which you can see at the sides, and then there's a little bit of footnoting, not too much, thank goodness, but there's enough, and that helps immensely because we're dealing here with quite a lot of statutory information. Funding, always an important issue, chapter 10. You see you have an interesting and very useful little short index of what's in the chapter at the beginning. Then it goes into an introduction, and there's quite a lot of referencing to other publications, some of them LAG publications and so forth, statutory background and so forth. And if we go to the front of the book, let me show you that. There is the front page. Then you've got a preface, which I found very useful to read. It gives an indication of some of the problems. It's quite a detailed preface. It does refer to Lord Justice Brooke and a judgment of some years ago, which I'll refer to again in a minute. There's more of the preface there, and then it's dated March 2015, and information there. Then information on the lawyer, on the authors themselves. Then the contents. You can see the contents there, running all the way through. And then the appendices listed at the back, of which there are 5, and then there's a table of cases. And then you've got, after that, statutory instruments and so forth. Then a very useful list of abbreviations. It's quite important in this area of law. There's a lot of use of abbreviation, and we don't always know what the abbreviations mean, so that's actually quite useful. Then the law itself is stated, and it kicks off the purpose of the Mental Health Act and key concepts, and then we go from there. And in fact, on the back of the book, it sets out in there what is actually in the book itself, without me going into any detail. The book runs to about 450 pages in total. It's another excellent book from the Legal Action Group, and this is what we say. It's only very recently that issues concerning mental health have achieved greater prominence in society, and we talk about such matters more today than we did. In part, this is due, of course, to the continued confusion in terms of the legislation of the past and the lack of expertise by lawyers and medical advisors in print until now. And it's only in recent years that we've actually had a much larger number of titles available to assist us in this area. Yes, we have the experts, and we do rely on expert evidence in some cases, but matters such as increases in dementia and the array of mental issues now emerging which confront society have always tended to be put away in a drawer in the hope that they will be forgotten. Not anymore. As practitioners, we are often asked to advise much more frequently today on mental health issues from both sides of the table and in the different settings. And it's clear that this trend will continue. So we do welcome LAG's Mental Health Tribunal Handbook, which is a most essential new title for those involved in this area. It's been written by experts for the legal practitioner, and it has excellent background for any expert witnesses as well, from what we have seen of the content. The Legal Action Group, of course, is known to many of you. It's an access to justice charity, in my view the main one, and it does sterling work in the production of first-class texts to assist us as professionals, advisors, and of course the judiciary as we go about our daily tasks. Counsel and solicitors would expect to see this new handbook regularly in the courts and tribunals, together with all the other LAG titles, because they are by far the easiest law books to read, and they set out law and procedure clearly for all parties involved in these difficult proceedings. Now, I mentioned Lord Justice Brooke, Sir Henry Brooke, earlier on. He does feature heavily in the preface for his prescient comments, saying, and it's now nearly 15 years ago that he said it, that, quote, in the fairly near future, the demands made on skilled solicitors in this field are going to increase exponentially, and they have. We've now reached the point, of course, in 2015, so this new handbook is a most welcome addition, we think, to the practitioner's library as a must-have publication to cover what is an expanding field of law. Now, the three authors whom I mentioned, Sarah Johnston, Sophy Miles and Dr. Claire Royston, bring a tremendous depth of expertise to their subject. We are profoundly grateful to them, of course, for sharing the knowledge and experiences they have with us in this work. The beauty and enduring success of the common law has, of course, always been its case law concept and the sharing of ideas when confronted with similar factual situations, the often difficult interpretation of statutes, and advice on the need for the smooth running of procedures. And let me just conclude by saying we get just this with the Mental Health Tribunal Handbook. It enriches our own area of expertise in what is a demanding, fascinating and rewarding area of practice, and that's what it is. Frankly, without this book, many of us would become lost quite quickly. It's been published in March 2015 and reflects the legal position, as I understand it, around that date. And I'm recording this review in May 2015, just after the general election. So we've got a new government for 5 years, and we'll see whether any changes take place in this area. There's the front of the book again. Interesting piece of artwork at the front. There's the spine and the back. And then just opening it up in the middle, this is Deprivation of Liberty, Dolls, which is covered there under the Mental Capacity Act. As I say, you don't have very much in the way of footnoting, but there is enough. And frankly, we don't want it overdone. I did find the use of the case law very helpful too, because when I've dealt with these cases, they are, in fact, the case law does help. Now, dementia, which is an area I have been involved in, it's probably going to have a bigger chapter to it in due course. There's part of it mentioned there. It's an important area, but I suspect with what is going on, that is going to expand with the number of people who suffer this dreadful affliction. Obviously, you've got other more well-known areas such as schizophrenia and so forth, bipolar disorder. So all of the main areas which you would expect to see are covered in the handbook. I'm very grateful to the three authors and of course to LAG. My thanks to them as always for producing something which really is first class for all of us. And make no mistake about it, whether you're a practitioner, advisor or member of the judiciary, it's this sort of publication that just makes our lives a great deal easier, so thank you for that. Do have a look at our reviews, which are in the journals and on the web, and we'll look forward to seeing more of these excellent books in future. Thank you to all concerned. Bye bye.